Yes, we have a quorum. Let's start the meeting. Papers issued since the previous meeting. I'm sure members have already got hold of these papers. On the 6th of June, district councillors from Southern District have submitted a document to us, and it has been circulated to members. Item 2 on the agenda. Item 2 on the agenda is the service performance of MTRCL. Let's invite the administrations in. I'd like to remind members that there will be a field visit next morning. We'll visit the Super Control Center of the MTRC, so if you want to join, please sign up. With us today are Mr. Yao Shengmo, Undersecretary for Transport and Housing, and Mr. Andy Chen, Deputy Secretary for Transport and Housing, Mr. Yose Yam, PAS for Transport and Housing, and Ms. Marcella Lee. I'm not going to read out all the names here. So, Undersecretary, can you take us through the paper, please? Thank you. Thank you, Chairman. We report to the subcommittee on the service performance of MTRCL. In particular, the performance in terms of heavy rail and light rail, and how the company is maintaining close engagement with the community and the government departments. On the 28th of June, the MTRC has already submitted paper to the subcommittee and made a report. The administration demand the MTRCL to provide efficient and reliable as well as safe railway services. And from January 1st to 31st March this year, there were 47 delays of 8 minutes or more due to equipment fault or human factor, while 28 were due to passenger behavior or external factor, a drop of 11% and 3% compared to last year. As for the incident concerning LRT on the 17th of May, we have already reported to the subcommittee on the 24th of May. We have already also reported on the safety measures introduced afterwards. At present, the case is still being investigated by the police. To respond to public's demand, we have introduced a service performance arrangement when we review the fare adjustment mechanism. For serious service disruptions of 31 minutes or above, there will be a fine which will go to the provision for a fare concession scheme, that is the 10% same-day second trip discount scheme. To better respond to the public demand, in March last year, the MTRC has started the listening and responding program. They will spend $1 billion on the scheme. Moreover, there are regular programs to enhance public awareness of safety launched by the MTRCL. The administration also maintain close monitoring on the service of MTRC. I'll ask the MTRCL to give a PowerPoint presentation on the service provided by the company now. Mr. Lau. Good morning, members. First of all, I will talk about the service performance from January 1st to May 31st this year. We provide safe, reliable services to members. We have a capacity of 5 million trips per day at present, and we are renowned for being one of the most reliable railway systems around the world. We bring passengers to their destination punctually. For heavy railway, 753,000 train trips operated in heavy rail network. As for LRT, the figure is 439,000 car km. There were 4 delays because of equipment fault in the survey period, and there were 7 delays due to human factor during the period. Well, the number is low, but we attach great importance to all these delays. We agree that we can bring down the number of delays, and we then step up training to our staff in order to bring down the number of delays caused by human factor. In the first 5 months this year, LRT, there were 29 delays of over 8 minutes, 4 of 12 cases compared to same period last year. There were 9 delays due to equipment fault and 1 case due to human factor. On the 17th of May this year, there was a LRT Route 761, whose wheels came off the rail. And this case is now being investigated by the police, and we're still pending the result. Every day, there are over 8,000 headways operating in our network, and our reliability stands at 89%. Still, there are delays caused by equipment fault and human factors, and there are fluctuations to these figures every year. To maintain quality standard and to maintain our trains, we have a stringent program to maintain and repair our railway system, as well as upgrading our asset. Every year, the amount spent on these areas is over $5 billion. Starting from January this year, we have started using the ultrasound track detection card in order to compare the results measured so that we can quickly detect the irregularities concerning the tracks in order to better maintain our system. Also, in January this year, we have formed a railway fast response team in order to give quick response to faulty system. We have set up 2 quick response teams concerning customer service and our equipment. And we can see that the 2 teams are very effective in responding to any incidents. We'll continue to restore services as soon as possible after incidents in order to provide better services to the customer. We have also moved the operation center and in Canteen and Foten to Qingyi in June. The first one is responsible for managing the East Rail and Ma'anshan line, and the latter is responsible for managing the West Rail line. With the relocation, we can better make arrangements for our trains to provide services to the public. We understand listening is important, but more important is to respond to the public request. So last March, we launched the 1 billion listening and responding program in order to respond directly to members of the public's requests and to shorten the waiting time and to make it more convenient for passengers to enter our stations. There are several programs launched under this scheme. First of all, we have an extra 1,200 headways per week in service. We have also installed 4 lifts connecting the platforms and the ground floor of the station. We have also set up more seats in the station and platform, and we have also set up toilet in Shenwan Station. We have also launched mobile phone apps, which can make it more convenient for members of the public to gain access to information concerning MTR trains. We have also conducted a survey at the end of last year. We surveyed 500 of our passengers. 80% of them agree that the platforms and the trains are less crowded and the journeys are more pleasant, and 90% of them were happy with the waiting time at present. Through this program, in fact, we will continue to upgrade our system this year. We have stepped up the frequency of West and East Rail starting 20th of April this year, and to make journeys more pleasant for our passengers. For facilities, stations and platforms, we'll continue to upgrade our facilities there.
Some members have reflected to us that sometimes noise is quite loud within the compartments. I hope members will know that we have responded actively to members' questions, and we have followed up the issue. We have tried to retrofit 3 older models at the beginning of last year, and we have installed inflatable door seals so that there will be better noise insulation and there isn't less noise in the compartments. Since the scheme is found to be effective, we are going to install the inflatable seals to 90 sets of such trains which were purchased at the early stage. In order to convenience passengers in need, especially the elderly and wheelchair-bound passengers, we are going to launch the Shakib May lifts later this year. And we have also started works at other stations so that more stations will be connected to the ground level by lifts. We are expecting that out of the 83 stations that are being used on a daily basis, 80 will be installed with lifts by 2015, but then the remaining 3 have posed technical problems, and 2 of them are found to be quite feasible with the works proposed. But then Tin Hau Station continues to pose problems. We will continue to work on that. Apart from lifts, at 30 stations, we are going to add wide gates. Before the end of the year, 59 stations will also have 1 more wide gate. Last year, at many stations, we have installed another 231 platform seats, and will continue to do so in other stations. Elderly passengers have told us that they love this facility, and we can always see that elderly people do use these platform seats to take a rest. As for public toilets, the Shenwan Station East Concourse has been retrofitted with a public toilet, and it has been commissioned to passengers at the end of last year. The company is now working on Prince Edward, Mongkok and Admiralty interchange stations so that there will be public toilets installed. We expect them to be commissioned before 2015. At certain busy stations, at the customer service centers there, we have done renovation, and 8 stations have seen renovation done, and we are going to work on another 7 within the year, so we can provide even more quality service to our customers. Starting from next week, that is the 8th of July, all stations will provide free Wi-Fi hotspot service, because passengers have told us that staying online is essential now in their daily lives, and they are expecting MTR CR to extend free Wi-Fi hotspot to all stations. Actually, starting from last year when we started the listening responding program, the response has been very good, and we'll continue to do it. Apart from providing money to upgrade our works, we are also going to provide better service. We are going to train our staff better, and we have also set up the Academy of Excellent Service so that we can provide even better service to our valued customers. Now let me talk about another topic, and that is safety. Safety is our first and foremost consideration. We have always done our very best to provide a safe and reliable rail service, and we have always been ranked as one of the first by COMET amongst worldwide railways, and I'm talking about safety, reliability, and punctuality. Apart from staff who should work hard, I think we also need the cooperation of passengers. That is why the MTRCL always conducts safety campaigns to enhance the safety awareness of passengers and also to encourage courtesy in our stations and on trains. As for courtesy campaigns, we have almost 1,000 escalators which are heavily used by passengers. So we actually focus a lot on escalator safety. We mount large-scale campaigns every year to remind passengers and the public that they should be aware of safety use of escalators. We appeal to members to hold on to the rails, handrails, and also not to step too close to the edge of the escalator, and that they should not walk or run on escalators. And also at 20 designated stations, we have launched the priority use of lifts program. We have put red stickers on the ground, especially near to the lifts, so that we can give priority to wheelchair-bound users and also elderly people. As for the elderly, every year we promote safety and also courtesy amongst elderly people. We have got this elderly ambassador program, so we can remind elderly people how they can take care of themselves when they use the rail. And also, we issue the elderly kit to elderly people so they can have safety tips. And the elderly ambassadors would actually be at our stations to remind elderly people how to use the rail safely. As for children, we would like to inculcate the safety awareness from when young, and therefore we have many programs for them every year. In 2012, together with the Hong Kong Repertory Theatre, we have got a drama launched, and that is called the Master of Railway Safety School Tour, and it has been very well received, and we have shown it to 40,000 primary school students and kindergarten students. It is a message of safety and courtesy for children. As for the LRT, we have the Model Pedestrian and Road Users election campaign in order to spread the safety message to LRT passengers. And also when they cross the interchange for LRT trains, they should first look left and right. And also on 4 LRT cars, we have started the Priority Seats program. Apart from rail safety, we have also received views from our passengers saying that some passengers may not act with courtesy when they are on trains, so they have caused inconvenience to other passengers. And therefore, in April, we have launched another courtesy campaign in order to spread the message to passengers that they should allow people in need to use the seats, the lifts, etc. first. And we have asked Master Mick to help us produce a courtesy rap video to let us tell our passengers what to do and what not to do on our trains. This has been well received, and it is launched on YouTube. It only runs for a minute. Please allow me to show it to you here and now.
我近期喺港鐵見到怪事多，越嚟越多人好似唔識得讓座，掛住玩電話搭 lift 俾佢阻住咗，係都要用闊閘機同有需要人士爭住過。一入到車廂見到個個好專一，扮瞓覺睇報紙玩電話，個個頭耷耷，同個位黐到實一實，好似好忙好緊急。要佢讓咗呢，佢寧願扮睇唔到雪筆。一有列巴打就急急腳搶住入，婆婆行得慢啲，到最後都冇得入。坐輪椅嘅冇得入，佢企定定零四不屈，咁急爭入 lift，我估入邊肯定有金執。 講堅持佢堅到應該攞諾貝爾，因為佢堅持總之唔理幾時過閘都唔會讓俾後邊有需要人士，更加唔會讓部闊閘機俾推 BB 車嘅媽咪。正所謂人人為我，我為人人，禮讓10個冧人人身體力行，咪太自我中心，學識禮讓更開心。講件和諧車廂，竟像你我有份。
我哋深信呢
We deeply believe that publicity, education, and protecting customer safety are essential to providing a safe environment on our trains. The company really thanks our passengers for their long-term cooperation. And we will continue with these education campaigns so that every passenger can have a safe and convenient trip. Lastly, I understand that the chairman is very concerned about recent media reports about our train captains making use of mobile phones while they are on duty, and that is why in our paper this time around we have included the relevant information. With regard to the use of mobile phones by our bus or train captains, we have got clear guidelines, and actually they can only use their phones under two circumstances. One, that they communicate with the operations center or other staff of MTRC. And secondly, only during emergencies. We have provided training to train captains, emphasizing and reminding them that they should attach or abide by the guidelines and the safety requirements. We will also monitor the performance of our train captains, and our supervisors will go on board trains for inspection or spot check purposes. We will also observe the conduct and performance of train captains from the platform. If train captains are found not in compliance with the guidelines on the use of mobile phones, we will follow up the case in accordance with established procedures. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Undersecretary, anything from you? If not, now members can ask questions. I'll read out the names. Wong Kwok Hing, Gary Chan, Lee Chek Yan, Regina Ip, Christopher Chong, Wu Chi Wai, Gary Fan, Elizabeth Quat, Frankie Yik, and also Tony Che. 4 minutes each, all right? Wong Kwok Hing. Chairman, my attitude towards the MTRCL is that we should give credit where credit is due, but we also should speak out on the improvements to be made. With regard to the noise level, I thank the MTRCL for accepting my proposal that installation of the inflatable noise seals will be done on 90 trains, but I'd like to know the completion timetable, please. Secondly, we have been asking for toilets to be installed, and finally, on the island line, at Quarry Bay, at Shangwan stations, we have got the toilets, and works are underway at Admiralty Station. My question is, when you can have toilets on all at all the stations on the island line? Because I am a directly elected member from the Hong Kong constituency, and that is why I'm most concerned about Hong Kong, and also actually the island line is the first to have been completed. And number 3, I'm most unhappy about a report of somebody falling onto the tracks and being killed, especially on the East Rail. This has been talked for a long time. The MTRCL said that there would be difficulty to install platform doors on the East Rail. But even if there are difficulties, you have to do it, especially at the black spots, for example, Tai Wai and Kowloon Tong. My question is, when would you show us the effect of what you have done? 3 questions. Undersecretary or Mr. Lau? The MTRCL, please. Thank you. Thank you for the question. I'll respond briefly to the questions. Number 1, the inflatable noise seals. As I said, we'll start the works next year. Since we have 90 trains and there are 80 doors on each, we believe it is a large-scale project, and the trains are used for providing service during the day, and they would have to go back to the depot before the installation can take place. So we have to do it in phases, and we believe this can be done within 7 years. As for toilets, we understand members' concern. We have decided that at interchange stations, when we do large-scale renovation and refurbishing works, we would also install a public toilet. By the end of 2015, we will complete the works at Mong Kok, Prince Edward and Admiralty. And other stations will also have toilets installed when there are large-scale refurbishing works. As for East Rail and the Ma-on-shan rail platform doors, we understand members' concern. In fact, we also would like to waste no time in installing such platform doors. But we hope members will understand that in order to do it, our first consideration is how we can continue to provide a safe and reliable service while we install the platform doors. In order to arrive at that purpose, before we install the platform doors, we must replace the relevant signaling system, and also on the East Rail, we also have to replace the entire fleet. And in fact, we also have to reconstruct or restructure the platforms. And in fact, for Ma-on-shan Rail, for example, we have to expand it to accommodate 8-car trains. Every night, after the service is completed, we can only have like 3 odd hours to do the expansion works. And in the circumstance, maybe a longer time will be needed to do this. But we understand the concern. We'll continue to work hard. Mr. Gary Chan. Chairman, I'm more concerned about delays in train service. Can we have slide number 3 on the screen? You can see here, Chairman, that with regard to the heavy rail incidents, there were 75 for the first 5 months, and those related to engine default are safety in number, meaning more than half. Now, it seems this is quite common, isn't it? This is related to equipment fault. I understand some East Rail trains have been in service for 30 years, and it was at the period around 15 years that you have refurbished the body of the trains. Now, I'd like to know whether these equipment faults had anything to do with the aging of the fleet. Out of these 40 incidents, have you seen common problems with the equipment? And when you refurbish your fleet or actually replace your fleet, can you quicken your pace? Because if you look at those which are related to human factor or external factor, there are not so many incidents. So I am worried that since the trains are 30 years old, are they still roadworthy? These may be light incidents or not so serious incidents, but should they become serious, it would be hard to imagine what the results will be.
Now, at present, the MTR says that in relation to some incidents, they will conduct some drills, for example, but then these drills are not exactly effective. Now, in fact, they will address the incidents, but from the recent incident in Taiwan, we see these measures are not exactly effective. There is no staff telling passengers that they should not enter the station because there is this incident. And because of that, passengers came in the station and they waited for a long time, and still the train did not come. So what are you going to do to minimize impact on the public? I want to praise the MTRCL for launching the 15-minute free Wi-Fi service, but that's too short for the tourists. Some tourists may be in the station waiting for the train as well as other people. So can you lengthen or extend the period of free Wi-Fi service? Thank you for the 3 questions. I'll address them one by one. For equipment fault, for the first 5 months, delays due to equipment fault is actually lower than the same period last year. As I said before, we have a system for repair and maintenance in accordance with international standard. And we spend $5 billion on upgrading our asset and also our maintenance and repair programs. We've introduced monitoring system as well, which are stringent. For the East Rail, we will buy new trains for the upcoming Sha-Tin Central Link. When there are incidents, we are as concerned as members. As to how we can ensure the safety of passengers on platform as well as on board, and if we have to evacuate the passengers, how we can do that in an orderly manner. That's why we have set up the quick response team for customers. We have also strengthened dissemination of information via the internet, and we launched the smartphone apps so that members of the public can gain access to our information more conveniently. We have relocated or merged the two operation center, and since then, with the super center, control center in place, we have enhanced our services. What about the Wi-Fi service? The Wi-Fi service, we hope more members of the public can make use of that. And for each passenger, there are up to 5 chances for passengers to log in to make use of the system. And every time they log in, they can get 15-minute free service. Now, the MTR is making a huge profit, but for service, the figures of delay is really worrying. For the first 5 months, there were 75 of such delays. That means 15 cases per month, then 1 per 2 days. And if one delay amounts to 7 or 8 minutes, this is very inconvenient to the passengers. So can you tell us how many delays are more than 8 minutes and how many are more than 30 minutes? Now, under the FAM, there will be consequences if there are delays of up to 31 minutes. I'm not happy with this proposal. I think there should be a progressive way to deal with delays of up to 20 minutes or 30 minutes, 60 minutes. Even in June, there are 2 incidents attracting a delay of over 30 minutes. Can I have more information concerning these 2 incidents? And, well, you keep saying that you spend $5 billion on the maintenance, on the repair. Well, if that's really the case, how come there are still so many of such delays? Is it because of the signaling system or other reasons? These haven't been addressed. You only say that you spend $5 billion, and it seems that you think that amount can deal with everything. But even with money spent, how come there are so many equipment faults? So I want to know why. My last point is about contracting our maintenance and repair service. This is happening in Changquan-O. These are the core service. How come you are outsourcing these services? Mr. Lau, thank you. For delays of over 8 minutes, actually, the figure is in the paper. There are 75 of such delays compared to 82 last year. As for any delays, are there any delays of over 30 minutes? According to our records, in the first 5 months, in January, there was 1 case in North Pond because of smoke emitting from platform doors. There was a delay of over 60 minutes. For another one, that of delay of up to 60 minutes, there was a case in Israel where a female passenger fell off the platform to the track. What about delays of up to 8 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes? Break it down. We can give the supplementary information after the meeting. The other questions, I'll ask my colleague, Mr. Wong, to address it. Outsourcing is a common practice around the world when it comes to network service. We want to make use of the professional knowledge of the contractors so that we can provide more efficient service to the passengers. And according to the law, we have to employ authorized or licensed contractors for equipment like fire safety equipment. We'll also look at the impact on our staff and on our service when it comes to outsourcing. We have the same standard for our contractors. They have to meet our standards and ensure the quality service. Mrs. Regina Ip, for delays of over 8 minutes, we see a drop this year. From time to time, there are delays to MTR trains, and this is disappointing to members of the public. But if you look around the world and look at the system in other countries, I think we are doing very well. I understand that you are managing some railways in Beijing. So how much do you export service do you have, and what are the impact of export service? I remember the beginning, the MTRC refused to build toilets, but now you are building toilets now. I think this is good because you're responding to demands of the public. Now, I have received some complaints, especially from young people. There are some convenience stores in your station selling breakfast and food, but you don't allow people to eat on the train. So how can you allow people to operate these shops to sell food, but you do not allow passengers to eat on board? Can you review the policy at present? Mr. Lau, first of all, let me answer questions about our export service, where we are providing export service. Beijing is one of them, as mentioned by the member. Also in Shenzhen, Hangzhou, and London, Sweden, and Australia as well. In providing export service, in exporting our service, we export managing system, safety system, and asset management system. We export such systems in the operation of railways in these cities. At the initial stage of our service in those countries, we send our staff there. And in doing so, we also ensure safe and quality service in Hong Kong. Do you get any profit out of the export service? Do you act as a kind of consultant? That's correct. We earn money from build and operation. And after 20, 30 years of operations, the system will be handed back to the government. And in some small-scale services, we also gain profits as consultants. For toilets, how many? I remember there was none. On the East Rail, West Rail, and Ma On Shan line, there are toilets. For the stations built in the early stage, we did not leave room for toilets like in Kwun Tong line. But we appreciate demands of the public. So when we introduce large-scale renovation, we retrofit toilets. What about the eating issue? I'll defer to Mr. Wong. Mr. Wong? In allowing small shops to operate in the station. We want to provide more services to our passengers because we understand that sometimes they may want to do some shopping. As for the area after paying the fare and on the platform, passengers should keep the place clean. So in these areas, there are announcements and some signs asking our passengers not to eat or drink in those areas. In fact, the journeys are not long, so we ask for the cooperation of the public to maintain a clean environment on the train and in the station. Mr. Christopher Chung, MTRCL maintains quality service. Still, I want to talk about some issues. Now, I'm not going to talk about toilet because other members have already talked about it. What about the lack of room in Tin Hau for retrofitting a lift? In fact, near Victoria Park, you can spare some space for that. You can address the problem if you liaise with the DSD. Now, there are mega events held in Victoria Park, and without this kind of facilities, you are not bringing convenience to your potential users. When it comes to Quarry Bay Station, many people go to Pacific Taikoo Place to work. And Taikoo Place, near Taikoo Place, the old factory buildings will be rebuilt. So if you don't address the access to Taikoo Place, it's going to be a problem. So you really should look into that. Now, you are more friendly to the passengers, but not to the nearby residents. Noise pollution is one problem, especially in Chai Wan.
All these 20 years before the merger, it was your company's policy not to pay heed to the concerns of residents nearby. But at that time, East Rail already erected many noise barriers in order to ease the problem. Today, you can do the same improvement. You have been merged. If you do not have space for erecting a noise barrier on an elevated walkway, then do it on the ground. You are not operating on the sea. I'm sure the LCSD will support you as to how it can be done in a better manner so that it is not an eyesore, etc. I'm sure you can work through the problems. Because sometimes if you have test runs, it may go on until 2 or 3 in the morning. And also the noise barrier at North Point. The entire building is suffering from the exhaust emitted by your ventilation shaft. You say sometimes it is closed, but still the building is affected. I hope you will come up with a comprehensive solution to all these problems. Last point. I hope the MTRCL will provide more space at less busy stations for the public, for civic organizations, for exhibition and performance, without disturbing other passengers, of course, so you can nurture the public's interest in art and so that budding artists can have a place for exhibition. They're doing it already, but it's not enough. Mr. Lau, can you give a brief reply? Thank you, Chairman. Thank you for the questions. Mr. Chung, you are correct. About lifts. Indeed, it is a big challenge vis-à-vis the retrofitting of lifts. As I said, the biggest challenge has to do with 3 stations which are very familiar with to Mr. Chung. Actually, at Fortress Hill and also another station, problems have been resolved. But at Tin Hau, about the big water pipe, the problem has not been solved. But we are not giving up. We'll continue to talk to government departments and also landowners. As for noise, we are continuing with the monitoring of noise levels within the railway confines. We like to lower noise as much as possible. We'll continue with the monitoring. As for North Point Station and the ventilation, could I ask Mr. Wong to say something? Just be brief, please. Along the railway line, we have different ventilation shafts. They are necessary for the safe operation of trains, especially if they are in a tunnel. Now, of course, we have to pay heed to the voices of the public around the shafts, and we are continuing to monitor the situation to see what improvements can be brought in, say, for example, the time of operation of the shafts, etc. Mr. Gary Fan, I take the MTR every day throughout all these years. I subscribe to and welcome the addition of Wi-Fi at stations, and I also subscribe to sustained education about courtesy. You did a good job with giving a seat to the people who are needy, but for lifts and escalators, I have observed that there is still lots of room for improvement. If at busy times, if you can send somebody to stand at the lifts to tell people to give the place to elderly people and wheelchair-bound people, that would be good, especially at busy stations like Mongkok. So you should do more with courtesy campaigns at lifts and at your turnstiles. And then on the 7th PowerPoint, you say the response has been good, saying that people say that there has been less crowdedness, etc. But I don't think this has happened on the East Rail. This is very bad indeed because of the individual visitors who are pulling carts and trolleys with goods. They bought the trains like that. So do you have figures telling me how the crowdedness has been relieved on trains on the East Rail? If you do not have the figures, I have many figures provided to me by the Parallel Goods Monitoring Group. In fact, Chairman, we can conduct a site visit on East Rail so we can know for ourselves what happens. Even during busy or peak hours, there are large numbers of parallel good traders who are taking large quantities of goods on our trains. And also, I subscribe to the salary increase targets of the staff. But then I also have requirements on the train captains. You say you have a system to tackle the use of mobile phones by train captains, but you have not told us how many have flouted the regulations and what penalties have been meted out. It only shows us that you do face squarely to the problem. And lastly, toilets. How much more delay will there be? Do you really listen and respond? Can you really respond to the urgent needs of the public? And I'm talking about urgent needs of the passengers. In the 70s, you say those are technical problems, but every year now you make a profit of tens of billions of dollars. So when can we expect to have toilets throughout the entire rail lines? Mr. Lau, you don't have to repeat answers for questions. Well, Chairman, if you don't think there should be a follow-up, I am following up on those issues, especially on the use of mobile phones by train captains. Thank you. On lifts, we agree with your observation, and I'm very happy to say that last year we actually stuck those notices or stickers on 20 lifts, and the situation has improved, and I agree we should do more. And we do plan to promote courtesy on lift use, and we will do it at more stations, especially the busy stations and the lifts therein. We are going to post those notices and we're going to stick large stickers on the ground. And as you said, especially at peak hours, we will station some platform assistants at the lift doors to help improve the situation. Secondly, large suitcases on East Rail. Since we have imposed the 23 kg limit, and we also have put in more inspectors, and I can see marked improvement. But of course, there are many passengers who are taking large luggage on our trains. We have to continue with our work so that they will not disturb other users. can I please take you on a site visit? Yes? Can I carry out a site visit with you guys? Yes. And on mobile phones, I like to defer to Mr. Wong. I think the focus is on 3 aspects. One, we have clear guidelines telling our train captains that safety should come first, and they should only connect to our control center or in an emergency when they use a phone. And also, we will provide training and communication. We will remind our train captains to abide by the rule. And as for monitoring, we do it in different ways at different times without notice to make sure that train captains abide by the guideline. Now, of course, if we should see the need for issuing a reminder, we will do it immediately. Next member, Elizabeth Quat. Thank you, Chairman. The MTR service has been improving. I welcome that. And I can also see service enhancement proposals. I welcome them, but I have 5 questions seeking a response. Number 1, I'm very concerned about your signaling system. With regard to equipment fault, you have not told us how many have to do with the signaling system faults. Like on the Chang Kwan O line, the signaling system always breaks down. It is very inconvenient. On the 13th of March, for example, from Yau Tong Station to Teo King Ling Station, there was a delay of 4 hours because of failure in the signaling system. And then on the 11th of April in the morning, again, there was a signaling system failure. And at Teo King Ling Station, there was the need to slow down train operation. And it was most inconvenient for people going to work. And it was it resumed normal operation only after an hour. So it seems there are many problems with your signaling system. I'd like to know what the situation is like and what measures are you going to take. Why is it that you took 4 hours to reinstate the signaling system on one occasion? If you look at Chang Kwan O, there are over 400,000 people living there and they rely heavily on the rail. If there are always failures or breakdowns with regard to the signaling system, then they would regard the MTR as unreliable. And also, in certain places, the population is forever increasing. And at peak times, people have to wait for 2-3 trains before they can board. This is true for Chang Kwan O and Ma On Shan. People are stacked on the platform and they have to wait for 2-3 trains before they can board. And also from Lohas station, there is this problem of 3+1. You are thinking of having the NIL. I think you should tackle this problem at the same time. Number 3, indecent assault on MTR trains. The DAB has always been very concerned about the number of indecent assault cases on trains. I'd like to know the latest figures and how they differ between last year and this year. And also, the reported cases or the cases discovered are just the tip of the iceberg because many female passengers wouldn't like to make a report for lack of evidence. And that is why we have asked you to install CCTV to help provide evidence so that female passengers would be reassured that there will be evidence if they are indeed involved in such a case. And also, you should also consider having women-only compartments. Women would be better protected, and also other people who are wheelchair-bound or who have a pram with babies, then they have another choice. Number 4, asked by Mr. Wong Kok Heng as well, and that is platform doors at Tai Wai. Another life has been lost. How many more lives have to be lost before you will install the platform doors, because that is a black spot? Number 5, Wi-Fi. I welcome that. But there are stations which are huge. How many Wi-Fi spots will there be in such stations? Thank you. First, signaling system. We have done international procurement for our signaling system, and they comply with safe and reliable operation guidelines. And in fact, we also have a maintenance program that dovetails with international standards. But I hope members will understand that the signaling system is hugely complex. There are 400,000 to 500,000 parts in its operation, and since there are 8,000 trips running on a weekday, sometimes there may be failures. However, we have this safety guarantee system. Even with a very small irregularity, our trains will slow down or even stop to make sure that operation is safe before it will be resumed, because safety is our first and foremost consideration. Number 2, indecent assault cases. I don't have the information at hand, I'm sorry. Can you reply in writing? Yes. I'd like to reiterate that with regard to security of railway operation, we cooperate very closely with the police, especially the railway police, so that appropriate measures can be taken to prevent such cases. And we never stop in doing publicity through posters, etc., that we should all help to prevent crime. If indeed crimes take place, passengers should shout, and they should report to the police or liaise with our staff immediately so that they will be given immediate help. Mr. Lau, Wi-Fi spots. We provide it at every station, but they will just be at one spot. In other words, people have to stay around that designated spot. But some stations are huge in size. Will you increase the spots? Well, yes, we will keep track of the situation. You should not require people to walk from one end of the station to the other end in order to use Wi-Fi. Members, we have 7 members who have raised their hands to speak, but we have another agenda item. So, members, please do not questions that have been asked. All right? I'll read out the names. Frankie Yik, Tony Che, Lo Wai Kwok, Chen Han Pan, Gary Chan, and Tenka Pugh.
Mr. Yik, for the performance of MTRCL, I agree with Mrs. Ip that it ranks high around the world. On page 3 of the paper, I think the figure shows that your performance is quite good. I don't agree with another member in saying that you are not effective in improving your system, your service. Mr. Gary Chan mentioned that your fleet is aging. I agree with him. I think you should see whether you should do more in terms of maintenance. I understand there are 2 signaling systems. One is newer, one is older. Some people ask me, how come you do not replace the old ones with the new ones? I don't know if you have any plans to do that. But I do appreciate that changing the signaling system is difficult. For lifts and toilets, I think there should be such facilities in stations, so please speed up the retrofitting. I want to talk about your responses to incidents. Now, in working hours in Central Station, in morning peak hours in Central Station, people take the escalators to reach the concourse. Now, the escalators are not manned by your staff. It's very dangerous because it's a small area and it's crowded. If someone trips, there may be a stampede. So you have to send staff to address the crowd management. For captains using mobile phones, what's the maximum penalty and has it been invoked? Is it effective? Thank you, member, for appreciating our effort. Indeed, with our effort, we have been able to provide quality service. We also agree that at the appropriate time, we should retrofit and install toilets and lifts. As for responses after incident, especially in Central, we will definitely look at the situation, but the most important thing is to ensure passengers can leave the station safely should there be any incidents. And managing the escalator is one of the things we have to do to ensure that. On the use of mobile phone, my colleague Mr. Wong has answered related questions. We have a system to monitor whether our staff had complied with our guidelines. We repeatedly remind our staff under what circumstances can they use mobile phones. I want to know the maximum penalty. I was engaged in related work at a smaller scale. But this is about safety. When someone's on the phone, when there is an incident, then he will respond slowly. So that's why I want to know about the maximum penalty and whether the penalty is effective in deterring staff from doing that. If we find that staff do not comply with the guidelines, there will be warnings, and in some cases there may be disciplinary actions. Mr. Tony Share. Thank you, Chairman. I agree that MTR trains in Hong Kong rank high in the world. The performance ranks high in the world. And the company has launched many programs to address public needs. I'm concerned about the crowding issue at peak hours. I know the capacity percentage of the MTR trains or the satisfaction of passengers, but I don't quite agree with the results. I'm sure people do not agree with the results. Say, for example, 70% of people are happy with the situation in Admiralty Station at peak hours. So I want to know the situation at peak hours at present. Has the capacity reached the saturation point? And as we understand, you encourage people to give seats to the needy, the elderly people, especially at peak hours and when it's crowded. Well, I understand that for people who are taking these seats, most of them are not the ones in need. So how can you ensure the needy will get the seats, and how many priority seats are there in a car at present? Third question about fare. Fare calculation. The rise in fare should not be that substantial for faraway stations, because the expenditure on fare to people living in these areas is very high as you increase the fares very often. Thank you for the question. We are concerned about our users and passengers who are using our service at peak hours. We launched the listening and responding program in 2012, and since then we step up our service. And sometimes we provide short journey rearrangement of trains so that we can respond to demands of passengers at different sections at peak hours. We have started a new campaign, a new survey. As for priority seats, I'll defer to Mr. Wong. Thank you for the question. In 2009, we started the priority seats programs, that is asking passengers to give the seats to elderly people, pregnant women, and those who are in need. Chun Wan, Kwun Tong, East Rail, and West Rail, etc. We have already launched the priority seats programs. We hope with that program we will enhance people's awareness of courtesy, so that more people will give seats to the needy. From the clip, you may see that via different actions, we promote courtesy. My apologies, Chairman. I already notified the Secretariat that I may join the meeting late, so I may ask questions that have been asked already. Now I want to know about the accident in Taiwan where someone fell into the tracks. I was waiting for the train in another station. In fact, when the announcement came, people were waiting patiently and quietly. Now, people were not angry because someone went down to the tracks. Well, it's very unfortunate the passenger lost her life. Coming back to my question, I want to know your pledge to build screen doors along East Rail. The BPA and myself made a site visit concerning that because we wanted to know more about the situation. I understand that you have used a detection card which use ultrasound. What about the precision? How precise and how regular do you check the tracks, and when will you complete such checkings along the network? You have upgraded the technology for such works. Does it mean that you can better detect irregularities of tracks? Say, for example, irregularities are similar to those in Untitled Chapter, that is the cracks there. Thank you for the question. I would like to thank passengers' understanding concerning the incident in Taiwan. And the most important thing, of course, was to take care of the injured passenger. As for our promise to build screen door, now we have to ensure safe and reliable service when we install the screen doors. So before we do that, we have to change the signaling systems and the trains of East Rail. We also have to reinforce the platforms and may even have to restructure the platforms. We undertook that when the Shatin Central Link commissioned, the screen doors should be there. And also in 2017, when Ma-on-Shan line, in Ma-on-Shan line, well, we enhanced the precision and the speed of the checking in using the ultrasound detection card. In just 2 weeks, 2 to 6 weeks, we have already checked the tracks along in the whole system. So this cycle is effective. We also have manual ultrasound detection, and we also have staff doing that to ensure we can detect the cracks and irregularities to the tracks. Mr. Chen Hanpeng, the MTRCL standardized the fare for passengers and the students after I requested it. So I think the MTRC is willing to listen to the public. I have two questions. For West Rail, from Tuen Mun to Tuen Mun and Yuen Long are faraway stations, but these two areas are heavily populated, so there are many passengers. There are developments in Ngau Tam Mei and Hong Shek Kyu. So there will be a rise in population. How will the MTRCL address the crowding problem along West Rail? Tung Chung line. The trains are running at an interval of 8 minutes. How will you address the crowding issue along that line? Another question has been repeatedly raised, that is about retrofitting escalators in Tai Wah House Station. People have to take a flight of 72 steps in order to go up from the station. So will the company retrofit escalators there? There may be a lift in Tai Wah House, but there are 5 public housing estates around the station, so the lifts cannot address the needs. Just 2 prams will fully occupy the lift. So in such a heavily populated area, should you install escalators too? In Chun Wan, there is a bus terminus, and still there is no escalator. Some elderly people, they are holding lots of things. So what do you ask them to do without the escalators?
Most of the people using these stations are living nearby, and they need to negotiate their steps. And you are making such a huge profit every year. Why don't you do something there? Can I defer to Mr. Wang? Mr. Wang. Thank you, Chairman and Member, for the questions. The MTRCL has been watching closely the services on West Rail and demands of the passengers. At peak hours, just like other public transport in Hong Kong, the West Rail, of course, has a high passenger load. But then our observation is that the overall service can take care of passenger demand, and most members or passengers can board the first train. We are still monitoring the service closely. Of course, we understand the concern of passengers, especially during the morning peak. We have increased platform management, and we have got more staff in order to ensure smooth boarding by passengers. We'll continue to monitor the service, including future development along the lines, and also to review and see what effective measures can be implemented in order to respond to the demand. What about escalators? Mr. Lau. We continuously investigate how we can continue to convenience our passengers, but once they are away from the station, then the issue might have to do with other departments and organizations. But escalators are more effective than lifts. Please do give that some consideration. Of course, there may be site constraints. Next, Leung Kwok Hong, Chairman. Of course, our rail is performing okay because we place emphasis on railways. You make so much money. I understand why members want to compliment you. Indeed, I have been on mass transport carriers in other places. They do not measure up to Hong Kong, but you are making a lot of money. First, the concourses were built quite sufficiently. But then now you operate more and more shops in the concourses now. Look at Mongkok. During busy hours, people have difficulty leaving and entering the stations. I have asked you the question. The FSD has said that you are performing up to standard, but up to standard is not good enough. You continue to lease out space in your stations, and you are reducing the space for passengers. I don't think this is desirable. You should expand the public space in your stations. Number 2, platform doors. Can you not tell us why you have not done your job? Why? We are still giving you 10 cents per trip for that installation, right? Somebody has died. I remember when I vetted your merger bill, you said this could not be done. But you have to do it now. You have to do it quick. You have to explain to the public why you're not doing it. If you should be doing it but you are not doing it, then you caused that person's death. So give me a written reply as to why you are still not doing it. Number 3. This has to do with our council here. With regard to the XRL Hong Kong section, it is going to cost us over $60 billion, and then there will be some exceedance of the budget. It is a farce. It is going to be rubbish. We are spending so much money in order to build this Hong Kong section, which will have a journey of just 10 minutes. Of course, to me, it is going to be a big joke. But anyway, my question for you is, if you make use of the $60 billion to be spent on the Hong Kong section of XRL on improving your network, how much can you done? Have you done that estimate? Can you allow them to answer your questions? Mr. Lau. Thank you for the questions. Let me talk about the platform doors. In fact, we also feel the urgent need to install platform doors. But these 2 lines are in operation, and our priority must be to ensure safe and reliable operation while we install the doors. According to engineers' study, to achieve this objective, we have to have 3 prerequisites. Number 1, that signaling system must be replaced. 2, the East Rail trains have to be replaced, so they have wider bodies. And number 3, the platform structure had to be changed or enhanced so that we can support the installation of platform doors. We have to tackle those problems. How much time do you need? We would also like to waste no time in doing this. With the Sha Tin Central link, we'd like to also do this at the same time. We also hope that at Ma On Shan Spur Line, we can have some early completion. You mean you're going to start to have platform doors on the SCL? What do you mean? In other words, they will complete the job while SCL will be commissioned. Mr. Michael Tian. Chairman, we don't always have public mass transit companies coming to LegCo with positive comments made by members all round. Well, no, not every member has complimented the MTRCL. Well, but then I think members have been saying that it is operating quite well. Compared to other companies in the whole wide world, this is a company of high quality. This is what you have done within your capacity. But other things may have to do with the government, and those are high-level problems. Right now, you have a dedicated system. If the passenger load will continue to rise, you can increase trains, you can increase trips, you can even build another railway. But if it is a common system, there will be a big problem. In Hong Kong, we have this common system. We also have the light rail. You only have so much road space. When I left KCRC, there were 22 new cars purchased, but then you have not purchased one new car since then because you say there is just limited road space and other road users may object. Since it is a common system, there is also a safety problem. You cannot allow it to be automated. You need to operate manually, and then there was a problem because there was speeding while a turn was negotiated and there was derailing. You cannot just sit with your arms folded vis-a-vis this problem, and in fact on the LRT your performance pledge has dropped. You should look at the LRT operation during peak hours. Very often there are 4 layers of people during peak hours, and the platforms can hardly hold the people, and people have to wait for the second train. But the thing is, this is a deadlock. There are more and more people, especially the connection with West Rail. When West Rail also extends to Tuen Mun, there will be 8-car trains, and then there will be 2-minute intervals. Then there will be even more people. There will be even more people taking LRT to connect to the West Rail. This is a dead end. I'd like to ask you about the quality of service on LRT. The remaining lines are all right. So the administration or MTR, what are you going to do? What do you plan to do about the LRT in the long term? Will you replace it? Is it going to be a new generation of trains, or whether you are going to have elevated tracks to run automated trains? Under Secretary, any plans? I'd like to ask the MTRCL to talk about present improvements to the system first. Thank you. We are also concerned about service on the LRT. The member asked about safety. In fact, we told the Council that we would step up guidelines and inspection for and on our train captains, and also there will be more on-board monitoring. My own observation is that our staff have given positive feedback. Let me talk about capacity. That was not the most important point. This is a dead end. What are you going to do? With regard to capacity on LRT, ever since the West Rail was commissioned, we had hoped to have the LRT continue to act as a feeder. The WR should be the main trunk. Well, you have wasted 1 minute. You are not answering my question. This is a dead end. There is no room for expansion. What are you going to do in the future? Well, that is why if we can enhance its feeder role, then some of the routes, say from Tuen Mun to Yuen Long, there could be some rationalization. So the LTR would become more like a feeder. Sorry, you have not answered my question. Let me ask the Undersecretary to talk about the strategy. You burned away 1 minute of my time. You did not answer my questions. Earlier on, under the review study of RDS 2000, we have heard many views from the districts, and Mr. Michael Tian also gave us his view. We will make reference to his views. Along the West Rail, under RDS 2000, we talked about improving connections between districts. The LRT has a big passenger load. It plays an important role in the districts. We do see that the load is getting heavier. But it is not something we can tackle overnight. In the long term, Mr. Michael Tian talked about the restructuring of LRT. Now, when we consider NT West in the future and the public transport system for NT West, we will avail ourselves to that proposal. But this is really for the long term. As I said, at present, it plays an important role. And now there are conditions for further improvements. As the MTRCL said, there could be some rationalization of routes. And we have heard such views also from the districts. We will make consideration about these proposals, and that is rationalization of routes. Some supplements? Sorry, speaker not coming through. Speaker not coming through to interpreters. Please switch on the microphone. We will look at the complement of other public transport modes. Recently, we are working on rationalization of franchised bus routes. And in Chinmun and Yunlong, we are not just doing rationalization, we are actually enhancing the service. So there is complementarity. We will continue to follow up on this issue in future meetings. When you review the LRT, I think you are doing a similar job as with landfills. You have worked on it for many years, but then now you are ramming the expansion down our throat. I hope we can have a timetable. Okay, next member, Tan Ka Piu. Thank you. I like to talk about Tung Chung. Many Tung Chung residents said that they could see on-board TV messages on other lines, but Tung Chung line is not equipped with multimedia on board. Of course, the trains are leaking and there is water leakage, but then this is not provided. The MMOB is not provided on Tung Chung lines. And also, the FTU has always talked about platform doors. Of course, someone has just died also because of the lack of platform doors. Since you have this MTRCL performance penalty system, we believe that no matter why falling onto track incidents must be a subject of penalty, whether it is due to passenger fault. Number 2, the TAVAS, in fact, covers everyone, including bicycle accidents. But what about people falling onto tracks? People are usually seriously injured. Why is it that TAVAS does not cover this? You say people tripping on an escalator, that could not be regarded as a traffic accident, but then can we have some special consideration? Because we have tackled many unfortunate incidents of people falling onto tracks because they felt dizzy or they were pushed onto the tracks, but then there is no penalty.
Mr. Lau, I'll defer to my colleague, Mr. Wong, to take the question. Thank you for the question. For providing entertainment and some message services on the train along Tung Chung line, I will consider that. For the penalty or the service performance arrangement, whether we should cover people falling onto tracks for any delays of up to 30 minutes or above, and if the disruptions is within the control of the MTRCL, then the arrangement should cover such incidents. But if because of the passengers' behavior or because of the weather, the elements, there are these delays, then covering these disruptions under the arrangement will not be fair. For TAVAS, now, in fact, for the tracks, it's not a place where people can easily gain access to. I only have 30 seconds. I think you're contradicting yourself. On the one hand, you say the incidents are not controlled by, can't be controlled by MTRCL, but on the other hand, you say the tracks, people can't gain access to that. But the fact is, people do fall into tracks, no matter whether they want to do it or not. So how come you do not protect more? You do not offer more protection to the passengers. I just want to know whether the MTRCL will be punished or penalized for the incident on the 30th of June. If the passenger tried to commit suicide, as reported, well, this is just what the report says, the news report says. How can you confirm that? We have to look at the incident. We have to understand from the police what the cause was. If it happened within the area controlled by the MTRCL, someone fell into the tracks because of reasons that can be controlled by MTRCL, then it is considered to be something that can be controlled by the company. But otherwise, that can't be done. Well, in any event, please speed up the installation of screen doors on platforms so that we can minimize the occurrence of such incidents. Last one, Mr. James Toh. We still have one agenda item on SIL East and WIL. Mr. Toh, please, you can speak now. Speakers off mic, just go on. I thought I remember it incorrectly. Now, the merger has completed for several years, and that the regulations should come to us, the bylaws should come to us already. You said the bylaws will come to us, the LegCo. Did it happen or not? I think the bylaws were submitted to LegCo. Well, this may be a trivial matter. People tend to focus on fair rights. There were many questions raised at the time of the merger, and when there were the amendments of the bylaws, then most of them were not passed. But at that time, you said after the review, the bylaws will come back to LegCo. But it seems to me that this issue has been forgotten. They are using the existing version, but there are some flaws in the bylaws. It's been 5 years, more than 5 years since the merger. Has the administration forgotten about it? And the Secretary, I remember the bylaws have been submitted to LegCo for discussion. Let me confirm it. In fact, several members have joined the discussion. You should conduct the review first and then submit the bylaws. But it seems to me the exercise is completely forgotten. Does it mean that you think as long as since the merger has already been passed and since the bylaws are running, are in operation, you don't have to come back to LegCo? Let me confirm that later. Any further questions? Many members talked about the service. A member asked to visit certain stations. I'll liaise with the MTRCL to make arrangements. We hope it will be a surprise check, because this is about the management of the station. If we notify the people concerned before that, then things would be too good to be true. All right, let's conclude this item. Next, coordination of public transport services to tie in with the commissioning of the West Island Line, WIL, and South Island Line East, SIL East. Let's invite the administration in. This is the last item on the agenda, and we have a time constraint. So I'll ask the administration to give us a brief introduction to leave more room for discussion. The commissioning of the two lines will be in 2014 and 2015, respectively. The administration consulted the district councils will conduct consultation. We have Under Secretary here with us, and the Deputy Secretary for Transport and Housing, Andy Chen, Mr. Raymond Chen, PAS of Transport and Housing, and Ms. Mathilda Lee, Assistant Commissioner of TD, and Mr. Regina Chen, Principal Transport Officer from TD. Under Secretary, please. For WIL and SILE, they will be commissioned in 1 or 2 years' time. The transport service within the areas have to be rationalized to ensure the railway system and the other public transport will be optimally used. We will consult the relevant district councils for the rationalization. And I'll talk about the arrangement of the consultation. The Transport Department has completed a consultancy report on the commissioning of WIL and SILE in 2014 and 15, and a PT plans have been drafted. There will be more feeder services, for example, to ensure passengers can have alternative choices when it comes to public transport and can reach never covered by public transport. When it comes to implementation of the plans, the TD will look at the number of passengers lost after the commissioning of the 2 lines. The passengers lost in the other public transport. We also look at the fares and the alternative choices and any overlapping of such services and the impact on transport operators after the commissioning of the 2 lines. We are not considering these matters by looking at the routes alone. We rather look at the impact on the areas alone, area on the whole. The plan doesn't just cover cutting down services of the minibuses and buses in the area. We also have to look into a possibility of introducing new routes and new services. After the rationalization, more direct and even cheaper services can be provided. Passengers will also benefit from the 2 new lines. Later this month, the TD will consult relevant DCs and the TTCs under the relevant DCs. If requested by the DCs and the district officers, the TD will also attend public hearings and consultation sessions to better gauge public views and, if necessary, adjust our plans. We hope before Q1 of next year, we can finalize our plans. The plan will be implemented in phases. For WIL will be commissioned in 2014 and SILE 2015. The TD will also adjust the details of the plans and the implementation of the plans to better address public needs. I'm happy to take questions so that we can provide better services. Mr. Wong Kok Heng, Tan Ka Piu, Yip Chi Ming, and Wu Chi Wai. I want to give more time to members to raise questions, so we extend the meeting up to 1 p.m. All right? 5 minutes each. Thank you, Chairman. Before the commissioning of SILE, people are concerned about the transport services. For the westward extension of SILE, I would like to see a more proactive response from the administration. When we met with Southern District Council, they asked us to raise this issue with the administration. So today, I'm reflecting the view of SDC. I've also received signatures from local residents asking for speedy extension of the line. So that's my first question. Secondly, before the extension, Wah Fu, Wah Kwai, Aberdeen, and Queen Mary Hospital, well, in fact, many people from these areas have to go to QMH for medical appointments and checkups. How can you convenience the public in the extension and the commissioning of SILE? 3 questions altogether. Under Secretary, the focus should be the coordination of public transport services. For development of railway, this is not the occasion for us to discuss that. For SIL West, in fact, we discussed a lot on that in RDS 2000. And we've also discussed this matter extensively with SDC. So here, I will focus on the new feeder service after the commissioning of SILE. After the completion of WIL and SIL, franchised buses and minibuses which provide duplicated service will be subject to rationalization. The 2 lines will shorten the journey time by 2/3, and we expect more people will opt for the railways, and there should be some adjustments to bus services as a result. As for people who have to go to QMH, how we can better facilitate their journey there.
Let me defer to the TD, Ms. Lee. As was explained, for Kennedy Town, University of Hong Kong, and South Horizons, people can just walk downstairs and they can take the train. But QMH is special because people from everywhere can go to QMH. But like in Wah Fu, Wah Kwai, Baguio Villas, etc., they need feeder services. After we have the 2 lines on Pok Fu Lam Road, depending on the situation, they can use the West IL, depending on the journey, or they can go to Aberdeen or Wong Chok Hang to take the train, so they need the feeder service. We are proposing to have feeder franchised bus or GMB services. Say, for QMH, there could be busy schedules serving Kennedy Town and QMH. This is why we need feeder services and the restructuring of such services. Please be assured that there will be a dedicated GMB connecting between Kennedy Town station and QMH. Do you have a figure? How many GMB routes will you start to operate? Because your answer cannot satisfy the members' demand. Thank you. Chairman, there will be 7 new feeder bus services for the 2 lines. They could be franchised buses or GMBs. This time around, we are telling members that we are going to conduct consultation. The entire rationalization involves many different proposals. Since the number will be huge, we will go to DCs to take up the proposals district by district or area by area. Like Pok Fu Lam Road, that would be for Southern District, and then Kennedy Town, we will talk about it in another DC. I hope the department will pay attention to this. Since you are consulting LegCo, we welcome your move, but you must have enough information for members. Or else you will just be giving us general answers, and that's not good. You talk about the number of routes. I hope you could tabulate it for submission after the meeting. Mr. Wong Kok-heng, just like to add one word. I like to reiterate that the strong demand of the Southern DC is that you should quickly decide on the Western extension. Okay, Ten Kap-yu. Chairman, I'd like to say that I've submitted a letter regarding the last agenda item. I'd like you to follow up with the Bureau that they should reply to that letter. Okay, fine. Coming back to this item, I'd like to say that I'm worried that there could be livelihood impact on other modes of transport. You say you expect to remove 200 buses, and I'm talking about 2.5 bus captains for each bus. So you are going to have an impact on the livelihood of 500 franchised bus captains. Now, there could be a redundancy problem at the bus company. Do you expect it to happen, and what are you going to do? Are you going to only affect New Bus or New World Bus Service and City Bus? Because there could be this negative social impact. You talked about 7 feeder routes. They could be franchised bus or GMBs. So it is just 7. They are short feeder routes, and I don't think they will be able to take over all the 500 redundant bus captains. So how do you do your analysis on the possible livelihood impact on professional bus drivers? Secondly, you have done the sums for franchised buses. You said 200, but then some organizations have written in to say that it is believed that some taxis and also PLBs could expand their service area to other districts. This is very vague. Taxis can go anywhere because they have no limitations. But what about red minibuses? How are you going to expect them to expand their service area? Have you talked to the operators of red minibuses? And if yes, what are the results? Under Secretary, I'd like to defer to the TD because they have been in liaison with bus companies and public light bus operators. However, the principle remains that in formulating this plan, the administration has maintained close liaison with the operators. We understand that franchised bus companies would rationalize the bus routes, and the manpower and buses released would be redeployed to other routes. Therefore, the franchise bus companies would do something about their manpower supply. The bus companies have also told us that if the fleet will be reduced in size, then the manpower will also be handled by natural wastage. There is no redundancy plan, and they have told their staff as much. The TD, yes, Assistant Commissioner, Ms. Lee. A 100 buses would belong to City Bus and another 100 to New World Bus Company, but quite a few will belong to Kowloon Bus Company because of the cross-harbour routes. If the passenger load will increase for railways, yes, there will be an impact on other modes of transport. But we have explained to the industry that at new railway stations, there will be arrangements for taxi stands and PLB stands. The taxis industry have asked or has asked whether there should be a cross-harbour taxi stand for taking people from Ocean Park. Taxis, of course, do not run on designated routes. There may be some impact on their journeys, but then they still have a feeder role to play. As for red minibuses, like there are Kennedy Town minibuses going to the east, as I said, there will be some impact. But our policy is, in new developed areas, we will provide GMB service, and we will try to turn PLBs into GMBs so that we can absorb the displaced buses. How many red minibuses drivers will be affected? Have you done your estimation? I think this has mainly to do with minibuses running on existing routes. In Kennedy Town and around Aberdeen, there are red minibus services, and they only take up a moderate percentage of territory-wide red minibus service. It may be 4 to 5%. Now, I will urge you to do a very comprehensive survey because this has to do with livelihood. Mr. Frankie Yik, thank you. I'm very happy that the administration has not repeated the problem for Tseung Kwan O line because you have now done your study as to how adjustments could be made to other modes of transport, because in Tseung Kwan O the buses suffered a great deal. Okay, railway will be the trunk of our service. It is a backbone. That cannot be debated. But then, as a member have said, the livelihood of drivers on other modes of transport will be affected. And as has been tabled, this alliance on the rights and benefits for taxi and PLB drivers have been tabled. And you said you talked to them, but if that's the case, they should not have written this letter. And in para 11, you said that you will start to consult the relevant DCs in this month to talk about the new arrangements. And before that, actually you said just now that you have taken up the issue with certain operations. So has the consultation been comprehensive? Is it that your proposed routes will be taken up? Is it that they have also agreed with the deletion of certain routes? Or else if you just go to DCs, you will consult the DCs and the DCs will agree, and then coming back, no one wants to take up the new service, and then you'll be in trouble. And I have also always said this in the council, and that is, I hope you will do the 4th comprehensive transport study. You answered me that after completing the railway development strategy, then you will be in a position to do the 4th comprehensive transport study. I suppose the railway study should be released in the middle of the year, and many media people are asking me how the progress is. But of course, we have seen nothing of it so far. Can the Bureau tell us what the progress is like with regard to the railway strategy? And of course, the port study 2030, you said that it will be released mid-year. Under Secretary. About the railway development strategy, we said it would be released next year, not this year. We said by the end of the year, the consultant will submit a report to the administration. Now, how we would implement it, it is not that we will certainly accept the entire report by the consultant. If we need to do something about new development areas, then our plan is such. We will release the government's view only next year. That is the timetable. Now, why do we want to start district consultation so early? It is because we expect a long time will be taken before we can gauge the views of the districts, and also whether the operators will complement that effort. So we think there would be a lot of toing and froing of communication. So we want to start early. The WIL will be commissioned in the latter half of 2014 only, but we need more time for strategizing. TD, I'd like to add, the rationalization mainly has to do with franchised buses and GMBs because they run on designated routes. we have maintained liaison with the relevant operators. In fact, they know what we are going to propose to DCs, and there are people who are willing to take up the service. As for taxis and red minibuses, I'd like to reiterate that actually the TD has always maintained very close liaison with the industry. We have regular meetings. As I said, last time we explained to them the facilities along the railways, and in coming meetings, we'll continue to communicate with the industry. If we can do anything to complement their operation, if they will ask us to review anything, the communication channel is open. And in fact, communication has been done on a regular basis. Wu Chi-wai. Today we are talking about bus route rationalization. First, in the process, the public would like to see that your main consideration is to provide direct routes with only a few stops. And secondly, there would be displaced buses after rationalization. You said that they would be deployed to other routes. But I'd like to seek some understanding into this, because sometimes the service areas are not just in one district. You have the WIL, and then buses would be displaced. Would there be then routes going to Chinwan, but then that is the turf, so to speak, for KMB. So is it that you are not considering cross-district routes? Number 3, a more practical issue. In the process of rationalization, would there be something like Kam-lam interchange station, or in the North District, in other words, whether there will be bus-to-bus exchange or interchange stops? Will you give some thinking to that? Last but not least, there is a paper tabled today with regard to taxis and red minibuses and the driver's livelihood. After the commissioning of WIL, would it be that because of the WIL, there will be new restricted areas limiting the operation of red minibuses? Or rather, would it be that for the red minibuses services to be more flexible on the island, you would review the present restricted areas or no stopping zones? I can give you an example. I know it very well on Kowloon Peninsula. Say, for example, red minibuses cannot use the Tolo Highway. Is that going to be the case? Is it that red minibuses would not be allowed to run on IEC? If that's the case, would you review it so that the entire operation or deployment can be more flexible?
Ms. Lee, let me take the question about RMB first. Whether there will be new restricted areas, basically no. After the station is built, there will be traffic arrangements, of course. But when we liaise with the operators, we already explain to them where they can pick up and drop off passengers. And there may be some changes, but we tell them where they can pick up and drop off passengers. And I don't think we impose more restrictions on them. When we set down restricted areas on a certain portion of a road, we have to consider a number of factors. And all along, we maintain liaison with the operators and we receive their views. And after that, we also responded to their views. I think Mr. Wu made a good point. That is, members of the public like speedy service. We're not saying we should cancel some services because the railways will be commissioned. 5A, 5AB, and etc. Up to 7 bus routes are going to different areas at present. But with one station in place, there will be fewer passengers taking other modes of transport other than the railway. But if there is a route going along the shoreline, we'll see whether we can straighten the route in order to enhance the whole route and benefit the public. It's something similar to what we're doing in Northern District, and we'll expand these services or these mechanism in other districts as well. So this is our idea. Will there be any cross-harbour services? Will there be some express services for cross-harbour transport? Well, this is not related to WIL and SILE. Well, I understand that, but I want to know if a transport service can be enhanced. When the buses are freed up, if they can be deployed to meet rising demands in other areas, we'll listen to the views on the district level on the whole. Mr. Kwok Wai Keung, I live in the Southern District. I actually live in Tin Wan. I don't know if I should declare interest first. Well, in any event, and there may be impact on employment opportunities to those operating public transport. You have to help these people who are affected in providing more feeder services. The MTR doesn't reach my area, so I have to take feeder service to go to Wong Chuk Hang, and they provide speedy service, so you have to help those affected to move to other industry. And you have to see whether, after the commissioning of the 2 lines, whether there will be impact. You understand that Wong Chuk Hang is a one-way road. With the new stations in commission, in fact, the buses at present are already packed. Will there be more buses serving the related areas? And if so, Wong Chuk Hang will be congested. For people living in Wah Fu, Tin Wan, Nabadin, will there be concession providing to them? It's best if you can provide free feeder service, but if you provide concession to them, other concession to them, it shouldn't be as low as $1. If you charge people $6 or plus, and now they are paying $5 plus for other modes of transport, you have to consider the difference. Because after they take the MTR, in the future, they may have to pay more altogether. Consider they have to pay for the feeder service. And at present, I understand that for the disabled people, they encounter difficulties in boarding minibuses. So, when can you enable the disabled people to go up to QMH by enhancing SILE eastward extension? So you have to start the constructing of SILW as soon as possible. About the interchange services, Ms. Lee, over to you. There are housing developments in Pok Fu Lam and related areas where people need feeder services, and will enhance such services in that area. After Wong Chuk Hang station is built, there will be an interchange so that people can opt for bus and MTR there. I'm sorry, will you widen the road in Wong Chuk Hang, or will you increase the number of roads there, or will you make use of the road outside the New Well First Bus Depot? But that's a narrow road. Let me supplement here. For the public transport facilities in Wong Chuk Hang, there are lay-by areas. For franchise buses, private cars, minibuses, they can pick up and drop off passengers there. I'm sure local residents are familiar with the area. It was a complicated road pattern. Our engineers look at the volume of different kinds of vehicles and the phasing of the traffic lights to ensure that the traffic flow will be smooth after the commissioning of the railways. Well, I take the MTR when I go to work, but otherwise I take the bus because I don't want to change transport and I don't want to pay more for transportation. So you can't cut too much of the service from other modes of transport. Well, members can express your views when the department come to consult the district council. All right, members are finished with the questions. For myself, I have to say the information provided is scanty. I want to know more about new feeder services, say GMB services and other modes of transport. Some minibus operators are worried that after the commissioning of new railway lines, their business will end. So I want to have more information for them. For the Kennedy Town, for example, this is one of the major interchange stations for WIL, and Wong Chuk Hang, the one for SILE. We don't know much about these two stations. Kennedy Town is a highly congested area. Will there be public transport interchange on the cover of the station? We don't know. I want to have more information on that. And towards the end of the construction of the two lines, can we organize a site visit to understand the situation better, and so that members can know more about the two new rail lines? Chairman, we will consult the district councils and we will provide papers to them. We're happy to provide those papers to LegCo too. And after we've completed with the whole engagement consultation exercise, we can always report back to the subcommittee. All right, thank you. If there's no more question, and that's the end of this discussion for this item. There's no AOB. All right, meeting adjourned. Thank you.